Hope you are enjoying the conference and also the parties. Yeah, you find more people over there. Excellent. So, lots happening on the AI front, and we were just talking. I think each one of us also needs a personal AI agent to keep track with the number of changes which are happening in the market today. We also see a lot of changes happening, customers moving from the AI adoption to more agentic enterprise. And we are working extensively with our customers in terms of accelerating this entire agentic journey for them. Today we are going to dive deep into how enterprise scale business with agentic AI on Google Cloud. A very interesting topic, and I have a great set of panelists today joining us. Josh Siebert, Brandon Weilbacher, Gina Fratarcangeli, and Kristina Rogers. And with that, I will invite all the panelists to join me on stage so that we can start getting into the discussions. Wonderful. Thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to the audience for coming for this session. Really interesting topic. Looking forward to having a great conversation with all of you. But let's start with the introductions. Josh, if we can start with a quick introduction.
Yeah, Josh Siebert, Ulta Beauty. I lead AI, data, and enterprise platforms.
I'm Brandon Weilbacher from Flex, and at Flex, I'm in charge of business development and sustainability programs.
Kristina Rogers. I am the Chief Global Growth Officer at HCL Tech for retail, consumer goods, and luxury.
Good afternoon. I'm Gina Fratarcangeli, Managing Director at Google and responsible for North America GSI partners.
Wonderful. Thanks once again for joining us, Josh, Brandon, Kristina, and Gina. And I think we can start with a quick round of introduction in terms of what your organizations are doing, and maybe we can start with Ulta Beauty. Josh?
Sure. So I have the privilege of working at Ulta Beauty, the US's largest beauty retailer. So I love working there. It's a great place to work if you ever need a job, right? But I believe we have a video that will give a little bit more information.
We are beautiful, all of us. I know we are beautiful, yeah, all of us. 'Cause we got something natural, it's a part of us, darling. When they put you down like that, yeah, you can reply right back. We are beautiful.
AI adoption is accelerating. It's optimizing workflows, transforming industries, and inspiring innovation. Behind it all, a data center revolution. As operators strive to bring more computing capacity online faster, they turn to Flex. For grid-to-chip power products, for patented cooling technologies, for scalable solutions that let them build anywhere. Flex. Design and engineering expertise, advanced manufacturing capabilities, and services that span the product lifecycle. We help companies bring what's next to life.
So Flex is a supply chain solutions company. So you probably would know us for one of the main services we do, which is contract manufacturing. So everything you saw there was the inside of a factory. Flex has over 100 factories in 30 countries around the world. And for this market, think hardware. It's the hardware that all these AI applications are running on. And that's what Flex does. You got to see. And you'll hear a little bit about a use case in a minute. So it's good that you got to see what a factory looks like.
Wonderful. So, we've broken up the topic into three, sections. Let's start with ambition to focus. I think that's where most of the organizations are currently, working towards. And this, often starts with the AI journey, with a lot of enthusiasm and many ideas across the functions. The early challenge organizations start seeing is deciding where to focus first so that the AI delivers real value. HCL Tech and Omdia did a survey recently, and in fact, 43% of the major AI initiatives are expected to fail, not according to analysts, but according to the people running those programs. So, that takes us to the first question, Josh. As you began your enterprise AI journey, how did you translate a broad AI ambition into a focused set of use cases that were both feasible and capable of delivering the business impact at scale?
Yeah, good question. So, we led with outcomes first, right? So, believe it or not, AI is not an outcome; it's an enabler, right? So, whenever I know I have conversations with Ulta, right? So, in our business, I say, don't think about AI. Think about where you have opportunities for automation, things where you can improve a process end to end, right? So, we start there, right? So, next, we really want AI to be business-led. Business-led, product designed and organized, IT-enabled, and then change management adopted. Those are kind of some of the pillars what we try to follow, right? So in terms of prioritization, we prioritize by value, and value could be either revenue generation, it could be productivity, things like those. These are the way we organize our work at Ulta, so that makes sense for us. We help both IT, our business, to move forward in some of their key initiatives.
Okay, and anything you found interesting during the conference related to what you are looking for in terms of this?
Yeah, I mean, I shared backstage. I would love to see PowerPoint in Gemini Enterprise soon for those Microsoft shops, right? So,
I'm sure everyone loves that. Yeah, Brandon, let me come to you. Can you share how your organization is leveraging AI to drive truly sustainable manufacturing operations? And to set the context for our audience here, could you walk us through the core sustainability challenge related to power consumption your company was trying to solve and why it mattered strategically for your organization?
Sure. So at Flex, we're a very sustainable manufacturing company, and we had a situation where one of our main customers came to us and asked for some sustainability data. It was for carbon accounting purposes. And so when you operate a contract manufacturing company, they're often like multi-customer buildings, multi-customer factories. So it was a little difficult to provide specific data on a product when it comes to power consumption. So what we did is we came up with a solution. We engineered our own solution where we put sensors all over the manufacturing lines. And we also brought in so we collected all the power data. So done, that problem was solved. But we also were able to pull in a lot of data from all kinds of different manufacturing databases. And we found when we put it all together, we got it into the cloud. So we got it into GCP, and then we started applying Gemini. And that's when the magic really happened. That's what we noticed. Sure, we can provide the sustainability data, but we also are finding all kinds of operational improvements and ways to save power, optimize equipment use, and different things like that.
And what phase of the journey you would say you are in?
Right now, it's kind of at it's mature. We're using real data, like we've talked about, and it's just a proof of concept right now, though. It needs to now scale to other lines. But the good news is, it's been pretty successful, and there's a lot of interest in scaling it up.
Oh, wonderful. Any key takeaways from the conference till now?
Oh, key takeaways. It's a little overwhelming. But every session I go to, I learn something, which is very different than other conferences I go to where we were talking about it. Often you feel like you're marketed to. Here, I'm actually learning, so
yeah,
very good time.
Wonderful. Kristina, sorry, just 1 minute. You're working closely with both customers and Google Cloud. Can you share with us how enterprise expectations around the AI have evolved in the last 4 to 6 months? And what are some of the things your customers are doing right from your perspective? and things where there is an opportunity to take kind of a different approach?
Well, I would say I would follow on with what Josh said in terms of, there's far less blue sky thinking nowadays than maybe, 6 months or even a year, even 6 months ago or a year ago. The conversation is much more around now, what can this actually do for me to deliver some sort of business results? So is that related to, revenue forecasting in a different way or, a more efficient way, or is that, managing store operations in real time? So I'm, evaluating promotion, how it's working, and making changes, in the moment with data, or is it really looking at our warehousing and finding out where are the places where we need to make changes that will result in, a better ROI or some form of increased efficiency or productivity. So, I think that's all moving in the right direction. The other thing that I'm seeing that clients are doing, which I really didn't see much of in the past, I'm a longtime provider of services to organizations, and I would say the willingness to create a coalition to get this sort of work done. So this example on the stage is part of that. But even beyond, say, Google and an HCL Tech working together, seeing what else needs to be added into the mix that neither of these organizations can do, and finding that third partner or the fourth partner to make this all come together and happen. I'm seeing much more of that nowadays. And I would say on what do clients need to be thinking about still, it's really the change management program. So there's a lot happening very quickly and in a very short period of time. So what does that look like? And presumably the operating model is going to change dramatically. So what is the strategy in between from getting from here to there? So what does that look like? I'm not sure clients are thinking about that enough. And maybe secondly, the governance model. Does there need to be one? Where does that reside? What does that look like? Maybe that's the less thrilling part of all of this, but I haven't heard enough conversations about that, I would say.
I love the word coalition that you used there, and throughout this week, just trying to think about all the things that need to happen, and everyone is creating the futures we're going right now, and I love that word for kind of everything that's happening right now, like what we're doing at Flex and that use case and other use cases that we're creating with them as well. It takes everyone sitting down at the design phase and really coming up with it together, and your industry expertise and your subject matter expertise, and bringing all those folks together to really think through all the things. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and the reliance.
And I haven't seen it in the past.
Yeah.
In this way.
Right.
It's needed.
Exactly. That's a great point.
An interesting change management, governance, I think a lot of conversations are happening around that. Josh, Brandon, any perspective? How are you, managing those things? Any, areas which you are facing challenges on that? Or
I can take it first.
Brandon?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, I don't think governance was a problem at all during our proof of concept. I mean, we had, customer, HCL Tech implementer, Flex, the factory and the operations team. And my advice to the team was just over-communicate. But HCL Tech had a good process too, and would kind of lead us through, hey, look at all these use cases, let's evaluate them, let's pick the right ones. And whenever we'd get to the end of a particular use case, we'd evaluate it again, and Google would be on the call, and HCL Tech would be on the call, and Flex would, and we'd just work together as a team. And so if we can keep that going as we scale up out of this proof of concept stage, governance is not going to be a problem.
Wonderful.
And what I loved about our governance conversations is that it fueled ideas for other use cases. And so now we've got this amazing flywheel of use cases that we're talking about together, and the stakeholders are seeing that your manufacturing team created value around the sustainability one, and that now there's a whole bunch more in the pipeline for you.
Exactly, it was a catalyst.
Yep.
Yep. So Gina, from a partner ecosystem perspective, how does the collaboration between Google Cloud and HCL Tech help enterprises like Ulta Beauty and Flex move fast, actually move past the, we call it as pilot purgatory phase to identify and prioritize AI use cases that offer, the highest ROI, return on investment? I'm sure, there are multiple engagements where you are, dabbling with this question.
Yes. It's just an exciting time for everyone to be working together and collaborating on these use cases. So I think previously, our operating model was one where our partner like HCL and Google and probably customer, everyone was working in their silos. And so now it's getting that phase 0, getting the silos broken down, having everyone work together earlier in the cycle. You're going to hear a lot more about forward deployed engineers and the investment that Google's making in deploying forward deployed engineers earlier in the cycle so that we can be designing it, because we are still designing so many first of a kind solutions right now. And the subject matter expertise, the industry in-depth expertise that HCL has in the manufacturing field has just been fantastic. As we're sitting down and thinking through the use cases, they have a wider aperture to see across the landscape of what's going to happen in manufacturing and how the changes we are delivering or thinking about, conceptualizing for these point solutions are going to impact the entire supply chain or the manufacturing flow.
Yeah. And how has been the conference going on for you? What are you hearing from the customers?
I'm just hanging out by the pool, really, mostly. I think I'm on meeting number 45 today. No, it's been great. And the level of, again, collaboration and discussion and enthusiasm around art of the possible at every turn is just really special right now. Such a fun time for us at Google.
Wonderful. Yep. So let's move to the second topic, which is, if we have to move beyond ambition, we need to have the talent and operating model in place. Beyond technology, AI introduces new expectations around skills, roles, ways of working, and many enterprises need to rethink how teams are structured to build and sustain AI over time. Again, the study which I talked about, HCL Tech and Omdia, 40% of enterprise leaders cite cross-functional collaboration breakdown as their #1 AI blocker. Right, with that, Josh, AI transformation create new demands on talent and skills. I'm sure, that's true for your organization as well. How did you approach upskilling your teams, introducing new capabilities, and organizing them to build, run, and sustain the AI solutions which you are deploying in your organization?
Yep. So we took a big step back, honestly, right? So first and foremost, like I said, we're trying to be business-led, right? We posted up our product team. The product team had been there since the beginning, right? So they've been the partners for the business, right? So, but we wanted to be very practice-led. So we actually created an AI engineering practice. We created an AI architecture practice. They create all the frameworks that we use across all flavors of AI that we use at Ulta as well, right? So we have our friends at HCL brought a responsible AI QA capability to us as well, right? So alongside that, we have an emerging technology group, right? So that emerging technology group, it looks forward. They look forward. They do small proofs of concept that may go forward, may not, right? So if they go forward, we pass it off to our teams that are capable of scaling out across all of our enterprise as well, right? So end of the day, what we were trying to do is create clear lanes so we could move fast and industrialize with rigor.
And Josh, you mentioned backstage we were talking about the ability to fail quickly, or just the willingness to fail. I thought that was really valuable, that I thought people would appreciate, because that isn't a typical corporate approach in the past. So more thoughts on that, how you guys are supporting that?
Yeah, so we at the beginning of any use case, we look at the perceived value, and before we actually get into the design, the build phase, we actually look at it again and look at it and scrutinize. Are we really going to get out of that what we thought we would? We've had some recent projects where it just didn't pass the sniff test, and we just said, okay, let's stop, put in the backlog, move on to the next thing.
Yeah. So we are not getting into this topic today, but agents as co-workers is a very prominent topic. We picked up with many customers. But some other time. Yeah. We'll move to the next one, Brandon. How do you seek your workforce, embracing AI, and how is it different from other technological transitions that we have seen in the past?
That's a good question. So at Flex, I feel like we're always a few years ahead on technology when it relates to manufacturing technology or manufacturing processes. We've got that down pretty well. And while we've used AI in the enterprise for a while now, this was a little bit different in this use case because we were asking a lot of people that worked on the lines and different people in the factories that maybe didn't have as much exposure to this before. And so, I think it all worked out well. Yeah, the AI agents would be our additional team member, but we all did a lot of collaboration, and I think the trick was we just brought in everybody. You know, we had, of course, IT there, we had our engineering teams there, we had operational people at multiple levels on the line involved. Even the people in charge of the account for the customer were there, and we all just worked together, and so that tended to work out pretty well.
Can you say something about the dashboard that you told us about that you guys created to see all that information? I thought that was...
Oh yeah, so we're using a Looker dashboard, and it's really awesome. HCL Tech put it together for us. And you know, you guys got a little creative, and you started naming things, like some of the machines that use a lot of energy are called energy guzzlers. And we certainly knew that they used more energy than others, but it means something different when you actually look at the number and you go, wow, we need to focus our energy right there. So it's been very useful.
And if I can just ask a follow-up on this, you talked about so many different functions going through this change. What is the general sense? Is there a sense of optimism, pessimism? How are people looking at this change?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's created a bit of a culture shift at our company in two ways. So this project started all about sustainability and providing the data so that our customer could do the carbon accounting. So it definitely opened up their eyes about sustainability and how important that data is and how important the results are. But also just the use of AI down at these levels within the company, it's starting to make people think about it. And now I'm getting calls from Poland and countries all over the world. I mentioned we have factories in 30 different countries, and they're wanting to do the same thing. So it's really a good catalyst.
Wonderful. Kristina, can you share your expectations from customers, so that your teams can be better prepared to partner in their AI journey? I'm sure your teams are engaging extensively with the customers. Very difficult to keep pace with these changes. So how does that work? And what are some of your learnings from the recent engagements?
Good question. And for me, this has been an interesting journey because I'm only 6 months into my career at HCL Tech. So I've got a few things to say. One of the great things that I've done in the first 6 months is really do a kind of tour of duty with our customers and do some one-to-ones to really understand, what could we be doing better? What are we doing that's exceptional already? And a couple of things came to light then. One is just, better communication. So kind of in line with the sort of things we're talking about, earlier, more often, talking about what's going well, what's not going well, and coming up with solutions. What I understood is our customers want to hear from us more, right? They want us to be a main partner, not just a provider. And so I think, as an organization, we can certainly work on that because we do have a lot to say and we want to be part of the conversation. And I think along with that, it's, having different conversations in our customers. So elevating it from the tech sponsors only, but talking to different people in the organization and sharing what we're seeing and making them part of the conversation as well. I think we have a job to do there. The other thing that I heard was, be be more present in terms of understanding the organization. So what does the organization need? What are we seeing? What are they maybe frightened about kind of on this journey? We're down in, we're working with employees in our customers' organizations, and they're all going to look different, right? And so being prepared to share our observations, be flexible, really understand the journey that the employees are on in our customers' workplaces.
Yep. And I know this is your first Google Cloud Next conference. How has been the experience till now? Yeah.
It's been tremendous, actually. I've really, really enjoyed it. It's the first one, and I didn't know what to expect. People just said expect crowds, and so that came true.
Got that.
Yeah. And I can say, I really enjoyed the keynote, as I'm sure everyone does. And I think if I look back to yesterday, I really appreciated Yuki's talk, because I felt like my productivity was going to go up 200% with all of the changes to workspace, and I'll be focused on the things I really want to be doing by the sounds of it. So I just thought, all the announcements were exciting.
Wonderful. How are Google Cloud and HCL Tech jointly supporting customers in evolving their operating models? And specifically, how do we help them build the internal AI muscle needed to manage their sophisticated agents, long after the initial deployment? So how is that working with the partnership?
Yeah, I think it's a whole new world of consulting that we're headed into. Before, I think we were able to bifurcate the technology and the management consulting. And now with agents, the technology is becoming more human. The expectation of that technology is more human characteristics. Those lines are absolutely blurring. And I would say one of the most common things I'm hearing from the C-suite right now is, how do I change my business? How do I orchestrate what this new business is going to look like? And yes, the technology is a piece of it, but the change management is such a much more critical piece in how we think about everything. So really thinking through the change management for executive, the change management for engineers and the practitioners, the change management for the sales team who's going to need to go out and operate. So our expectation is that agentic tools and solutions are going to permeate every aspect of everybody's job, but we're going to really rely on partners like HCL to help define what that change management is, help define that education plan, and really with some clear intention into the workflows that we're creating, into the project and program plans, have that really put in as a really critical feature of it, because we're seeing how best to prevent the coming out of pilot purgatory is a roadmap to, once you've got that created, what's the rest of the impact to the organization? What is the broader impact? How do we change it so that even before you start those pilots, you're thinking about the long-term impacts of how you need to have your data ready to go, how all the people are going to touch these systems, how do they get access to the dashboards that you're going to create? So there's just so much more change management now required at the earlier stages in the process. So I'm really excited about the time we're spending together with HCL and in parallel with our customers, thinking through that aspect of it, and we're writing the playbooks right now ourselves.
Yeah, I think change management is absolutely critical, and as customers are moving from ambition to focus, as we talked about, this is going to play a key role. But I think in the last 2-3 months, I have started hearing more about this. Do you think the customers are well aware of this, or there needs to be some education, and how are they looking at it?
Yes, I think they're absolutely aware of the need, and they're also absolutely aware they don't know how to solve it. So they're all looking for partners to do that.
Okay, wonderful.
Gina, just you touched on the C-suite, right, and what they're looking for. And I guess about 3 years ago, I worked on something called the Top of Mind Report as a kind of writer and contributor. But one of the best things about that was I got to interview 15 CEOs in my space, in retail and CPG, for about an hour. And the whole point was to find out what was on the top of their mind, right? So, and we probably, I think for the most part, spent 20 minutes of an hour on technology, right? AI. 3 years ago, what was that? What was it about? But they all understood that it was going to bring dramatic change to the organization, and how to keep a pulse on that, or what was it going to do, or how are they going to keep tabs on the skills that were needed, the capabilities, right-sizing the organization. And if we think that that was something that was top of mind 3 years ago, while it's now all coming into play, I mean, it's a big opportunity for great conversations at the executive level, because it's definitely top of mind now.
Right. For all the service providers, I mean,
yes.
Showing up saying, we have a playbook to help guide you through this process.
Absolutely.
Or we're trying to help write, at Google, we're trying to help write some of those chapters and pages to put in your playbook, but it's going to be a collaborative effort.
And there were a number of sessions today about how do you think about the organization, the people in it, and what they're going to be doing, and how you need to retrain them, and are they capable of absorbing the training? I mean, I think that's the big question, is just what is the baseline, and now what's going to happen?
Yep.
Great point.
So ambition to focus we talked about, and one critical thing we talked about is talent and operational model readiness. The other one is governance, trust, and responsible AI. As AI becomes more embedded into the core business processes, issues around governance, trust, and responsible AI naturally become more important, especially at scale, right? The study which we did, already 76% of enterprise leaders say responsible AI concerns have already delayed real deployments at their organizations. And we hear a lot of this, right? So Josh, question for you: as AI adoption accelerates, how are you thinking about governance, trust, and responsible AI while operating at enterprise scale?
Yep. So at Ulta, governance is built into the architecture, right? So we actually have a process called our architecture review board, where every use case goes through, it gets questioned, not just the architecture, but also we have an AI governance team that goes through and understands, are there things like PII involved, like things like that. We have a lengthy questionnaire. Same thing on the cybersecurity side, to go through a lengthy process to understand the risk, right? So we do have a risk tiering where we get scored, and then we figure out what controls should be associated. Those get built into the product at the very beginning as we release it, right? So we really trying our best to standardize the platform, so this becomes more of a repeatable pattern as well, right? So more consistency means less risk and less things you have to look after, right? So and then lastly, right? So we do monitor. So our ability to control, observe, and explain why AI is doing things is super important, not just for the end user, but also for our auditors.
Sure. Okay. Brandon, let's explore the AI-powered solution you implemented to reduce the energy consumption and advance your environmental goals. What are the biggest hurdles where, whether technical or organizational or cultural, and how did your leadership team navigate along with you and your team this complex transformation?
Yeah, I think every project presents its own new challenges. And we talked a little bit about governance and the teams. I'll touch on the technical challenge, though, that we had, and you wouldn't have expected this, but in a manufacturing environment like the one you saw in the video, there are so many sources of data. I mean, there's data on the supply chain, there's data on the traceability of every single product as it goes through various points in the factory, the downstream supply chain, the yields, all kinds of data. So our challenge was actually collecting all of that data. And all these data repositories, they work great for the teams and departments that need to monitor them. Everything's very efficient. But we found that when we pulled them all together and put them all into the cloud together, we kind of created this AI umbrella over all these data sources. And we started to find some other benefits, additional value that maybe no one was ever really seeing before. And I think the sky is kind of the limit. We keep adding to them. So I think HCL Tech came up with a pretty good solution for us and asked us, why don't you go ahead and put your maintenance logs in there on every machine? And so we're like, okay, we can do that. And you're even translating them when they're not in English. So we're coming up with very clever solutions to get, I would say, to acquire all of the data. And I think that's going to make all the difference.
Wonderful. Kristina, having attended Davos this year with HCL Tech, where AI was a central theme, what were the key insights or shifts that stood out for you, and how are those shaping the way enterprises should approach AI moving forward?
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big question. I'm not sure I have the answer.
There's a lot of information.
I don't know if I have the answer to that, but what I will say, yes, I was invited to attend Davos this year by HCL Tech, which was a phenomenal experience. And we could have just branded this whole conference Davos because that's what that conference was about. I mean, whether it was in the areas that was, where there was government conversations, whether it was areas where it was about finance, where it was areas of, about cyber security or whatever it was. I mean, service providers. I mean, that was the conversation everywhere, which, was just incredible because I'm sure that was not the case even 3-4 years ago. What I did find fascinating, though, there, and I guess, I don't know why, unexpected, simply because maybe there weren't, many retail or CPG or luxury, or obviously there's CMOs in other types of organizations, but the sheer volume of opportunity for a CMO conversation or MarTech, so whether it was sessions related to that or presentations or opportunities to hear people talking about that space, I found really fascinating. And a lot of conversations about what AI, and maybe, Josh, we can hear from you. AI is, how is the brand management going to change, right? Who's going to be impacted? How will the brand be kind of maintained, owned, the authenticity, the trust? A lot of discussions around that, and I feel like this year we're going to see a lot of that at customers in the news, or where probably over at Adobe they're talking about that right now at the Adobe conference. But I found that fascinating. I mean, and where does the consumer fit in all of that? How do they think about brands that are being driven by AI in terms of creativity or whatever it is? But I just found that pretty incredible. The other thing I'll say is, I attended a session where Jamie Dimon was speaking, the CEO of JP Morgan, and he said, look, if this is all getting out of hand and going too fast with societal consequences, businesses and governments will step in, I hope, and do the right things. And so, he kind of put a stamp on all of the enthusiasm in a little way. But Josh, I just wondered, are you thinking about that at all at Ulta in terms of just, how AI affects the brand in any way?
We definitely are, right? So if you think about, kind of the way agentic commerce works, right? So we work with our brands and some of our AI friends, right, to make sure that our brand content is up to date, our product feeds are flowing to the right places as well, right? So that based on what a consumer is looking for, they're getting the right results based on the content that the brand partner actually supplied from the beginning, right? So ultimately, they're going to have control over what they control that part of it, the content part of it, to make sure that they're making their products as findable and as conversational as possible.
It's an interesting time to be a brand, right? As you represent your brand, it's a pivotal point. Everyone's expecting transformation across everything. So I think every company is thinking about what they want their brand to be and how you want to transform in the new AI culture. And either you are becoming a brand that is AI enabled, or a competitor is going to come along and rethink about it. So as you look at every industry, the leaders I talked to, just soup to nuts, top to bottom, thinking about what do they want their company to be in the future, what is actually a core piece of their brand, and what isn't, and how can you just get so much more efficient and optimized using agents to do the things that you do. So it's a great opportunity in history to transform yourself and or be seen as a transformation agent who helps other firms transform like HCL does.
Yeah, absolutely. So much that can be achieved during these AI times. Just continuing with that discussion, Gina, as enterprises look to move agentic AI into production, what role does the Google HCL Tech partnership play that allows customers to innovate fast without compromising on the trust and safety?
Sure. I think it all starts with data. We talked a little bit about how you're looking at your data and how you're integrating the data, but at the end of the day, AI is going to rely on that data. And so ensuring that your systems are connected, your data can talk to each other, your customers' data is set up in such a way that there's not siloed data. So as you're looking for insights and next best action that's being performed by your AI, it is as safe and as qualified as you can. And I'll come back on the safe side as well, making sure that your data is safe, the usage of that data is safe. And so, Google has the entire stack as you think about your infrastructure, and really looking at each layer of that stack and working with a partner who's going to help you look at each layer of that stack to make sure you've got the right tools and technologies all within the secure barrier. I'm really excited about our acquisition of Wiz and how that's going to help us really think about the wider viewpoint and lens we should have around security for our customers, because again, as we head into the AI wild, wild west, the challenges that are going to continue to come, the bad actors are just going to take on new forms. So we've got to make sure that data is secured, our infrastructure is secured, and we're all working with partners who are thinking about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very critical point for most of the organizations to really be able to scale out a lot of these initiatives, right? And Google has made the right investments, and we're working with the customers in terms of addressing it. Josh, a quick one for you. Could you describe how are you measuring the success of the AI initiatives, not just at the individual use case level, but also in terms of the enterprise-wide adoption and business value realization? Have you reached that level of maturity today?
Yep. So we look at any AI value one of two ways, or it could be both, hopefully, right? So does it generate revenue, or is it saving time, right? So we baseline those things up front before we start the use case, right, or the AI, right? So and then we measure along the way. More than ever, change management is super critical these days, right, with AI, right? It's just getting people to understand how it works and how to use it is uber important for adoption, right? So couple of really good use cases from the Ulta side recently, right? If we're thinking about revenue generating, we actually use generative AI to fill in the blanks in our product item master amongst the top 90% of our products of sales, right? So let's just say the impact was substantial. We'd do it again. And then maybe if you think more on the enterprise side, my friend Augustina here in the front row helped us with a thing called promo validation, right? So for any of you retailers out there that maybe use promos, right? We have a lot of them. We have a lot of products and a lot of cross-selling and promotionals, right? We calculated based on what we did with agents, we're saving just over 200,000 hours, human hours, a year, validating all of our promos every day versus the roughly 10 to 15% we got to in the past with humans, right?
Yeah, that's very encouraging. I think that's something which a lot of customers can take inspiration from, right? And I think that brings back us to the end of this wonderful panel discussion. We covered a number of interesting topics in terms of how do enterprise scale their agentic AI journey. We started with ambition to focus, how customers can get more out of their investments, and talent and operating model, how customers like Ulta Beauty, Flex are looking at evolving this, how HCL Tech is working closely with Google Cloud in terms of helping customers in their journey. Responsible AI, risk, governance, very critical topics. So, thank you all for joining the panel today and sharing very interesting insights. I would also like to thank the audience for joining the session today. And, we are at booth 1901. If you have any interesting conversations to continue having with us, any questions, please do join us at our booth. We have some very interesting demonstrations, including few physical AI demonstrations using Google Cloud technologies. So thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.